Good afternoon, family. Thanks for checking out today's video. If you're new here, my name is Jonathan, and I created this channel as a way to record my progress as I work towards my goal of losing 300 pounds. If you'd like to join the family, hit that subscribe button down below. Also, make sure you click on the bell icon so you get alerted when I go live or post new videos. If you'd like to participate on the discussion, you can join me most weekdays where I go live on YouTube, or outside of my YouTube, you can consider joining the Facebook group or the Discord I've created. There's links for them down in the description below. Also down in the description below is a link to a Pinterest board. That is a great place for you guys to check out the different meals and recipes I have been enjoying as I've been working towards my weight loss goal. Today is day 1024 of my challenge to lose 300 pounds. So far, through a combination of extended water fasting and a whole food, plant-based, salt, oil, sugar-free diet, I have been able to lose 270 pounds. If anybody has any non-scale victories they'd like to share, I'd love to hear your non-scale victories. If you have any on-scale victories, I love hearing those as well. If you are struggling with your diet, let me know what's causing your struggles. Maybe there's something we can help you with. If you're succeeding with your diet, let us know what you're doing to succeed. Share that with the rest of us. And at the end of the day, what are some things that you can do or some things that you are doing that will make staying on your diet easier than the alternative? I usually switch over to the main screen at this point, but I'm already on the main screen because I messed up the YouTube thing, whatever, the streaming thing. So anyways, I hope everybody had a great weekend. Oh my, it was a busy weekend. I got a lot done, and just overall extremely active for the weekend, which is awesome, was really good. There was a lot of things that needed to be done around the house that I was able to take care of. We had some family visiting, so it always is a little bit busier or a little bit more hectic when we have company over. So yeah, it was a busy weekend. The weather here has been awesome, and it was very hot yesterday, and I was very happy to be able to get out and get into the swimming pool and swim for a little bit because it's getting towards the end of the season, and one of my goals this summer was to have the swimming pool up and running and usable the whole year for us, because the first year I had the pool, it was real easy. The second year, it was a lot tougher to keep the water clear and keep it in a good condition that people would want to swim in. And so this year, I really tried to stay on top of it so that the kids were able to swim from Memorial Day till Labor Day coming up. And they have school starting, so there'll be a little bit less swimming. But I know Carrie was looking forward to using it the next few days. The forecast here is really hot for the next couple days. So, yeah, if you're outside, be careful because it's hot. Few people checking in here. Pretty Girl's mom, Plant Powered Peddler, Janet, hello. Karen saying hi. Sarasota, Florida says, Sarasota said had to go on the carnivore diet, couldn't poop anymore, all that fiber. Gosh, I'm not sure if it's going to help you with pooping, but good luck with it. And I've never had a hard time with pooping, but I don't eat a lot of stuff that, for lack of a better term, coagulates or gets real stuck together. My poops seem to be light and fluffy. If I had to give them an explanation. But you say you're still maintaining your weight loss and you feel much better after you were able to go to the bathroom, which is nice. Pretty Girl's mom. Let's see. Karen saying hello, hello, Karen, and the Shrinking Shadow. Hello, hello, all. I hope you're having a great day and you had a great weekend. I was, like I said, I was a lot more active this weekend. I ended up, I've been, I don't know, floating this idea in my head, trying to do some sort of endurance challenge or something. I water fasted for a long time. That was a big endurance thing. I did that triathlon a couple years ago at this point, and that was quite the endurance thing. And so a lot of what I've been seeing that, with endurance stuff is running and trail running related, and I'm not a runner. I have zero running ability in me. I've never been a runner, but I've always been overweight. And so something I've been trying to do this past weekend, and actually really for the past week, has just been upping my steps or doing a little bit of extra running or jogging. And so this weekend, twice I was able to get out and kind of do a walk or a hike, I guess. On Saturday, it was really just 15 minutes, not anything real strenuous, really mostly walking. Did a little bit of jogging, but just trying to strengthen my leg muscles, trying to strengthen my ankles and my calves and my shins. I have pretty strong muscles, but they're just not used to running or doing anything like that. So Saturday afternoon, I did like a 15-minute walk. And then on Sunday, I went up to the local school that has a track. And I went up there with my son and actually I went up there with 3 of my kids and ran on the track for a little bit. I definitely don't have the ability to keep a consistent pace. It's just something that I don't know how to do it yet. And I really feel like having this extra 50 pounds on me still makes it hard to run. So I was hoping that it would be a little bit easier at 250 pounds, because the last time I ran, I was like 320, 330 pounds, where I was running consistently. And I knew at that time that I needed to lose weight because it was just doing more damage than good. And so I kind of avoided running for a while. And then, this past week kind of picked it up again to see. And I'm still, I'm working on it. And I know the more activity I do, the stronger the muscles will get, the easier it will get to doing that activity. But it just still doesn't come natural to me. And so anyways, that was some of the working out I did this weekend. And then I was in the swimming pool for a very long time, and that is pretty strenuous for me when I have all my kids in the pool with me and we're jumping and playing and bouncing around and doing all the fun kind of swimming pool things. So my activity was up overall throughout the weekend. I should download things on my Garmin more so I can show you guys those. But let me just see that. So activity was a lot of fun activity this weekend, a lot of hanging out with my kids. All of the activities I did, I was with my kids and I was doing things with them that were not only benefiting me, but also benefiting them as well. Today, I wanted to talk a little bit about how I lost 270 pounds with diet alone. And I think that that's what, I hoped for when I started this challenge, that I could lose the weight with diet alone. I didn't know if it would actually work, or if I would be able to find a way to do that. But I really feel like throughout the past 1,024 days, I have been able to kind of figure out what works for me. And a big part of that was losing the weight with diet and not having to be at the gym, not having to do all of those workouts this past weekend. Janet says food pictures. I don't know if I have very many food photos from the weekend. I've been so out of practice with it. All the food photos I have, I think, are just from breakfast and lunch. We were so busy. Let me see. Pull them up here. So it's a lot of oatmeal, a lot of potatoes and broccoli, just trying to get back into the swing of things here. Oh, that's the wrong button. Make sure I'm on the right thing here. Let's see. So now, let's see. Food photo. So yeah, the Saturday, I keep hitting that one. This is one. Saturday was oatmeal for breakfast, and then potatoes and broccoli for lunch, and then I don't think I have any dinner. Yeah, and then it skips to breakfast yesterday. And so oatmeal again, and then today. So I didn't take any photos. So today was oatmeal, and then for lunch we had our potatoes and broccoli. So just lots of photos of oatmeal and potatoes and broccoli since the weekend here. So not a lot of food photos. Just been trying to stick to eating whole food, plant-based, salt, oil, sugar-free, and getting my body back into being used to those foods. And it does take time, even after becoming adapted. If you start eating that crap foods or the processed foods, it takes time to get reacclimated to it. So I'm still getting there. I feel much better this week than I did at the beginning of last week, and it's definitely paying off here. What was it? How I lost 270 pounds. When I started this challenge, I wanted to make diet a priority. I wanted losing the weight. I knew that the way I was eating was wrong. I knew that that was my main problem. It was the main thing that was causing me to gain weight, keeping me from losing any weight. And I really, just from past experience, because I tried it so many times, I just knew that you can't outwork a bad diet. And if I wanted to see permanent, lasting, long-term effects, that they were going to have to be done at the dining room table and not in the gym. Because when at the end of the day, what you eat, you control that. And, you know, if whether things are going well or not, you still control what you put in your mouth. You know, you can't predict an injury. And if you're relying on running to lose weight and then you get hurt running, then you are stuck with nothing to lose weight. You know, you're stuck with just your diet. And so I knew I had to change my food habits. I had to reset my system. And from past experience, I knew that water fasting would be a great way for me to get away, you know, from all of the bad foods that I was eating. And so that's why I started this challenge and started this channel really as a water fasting channel. I was going to water fast my way to a healthy weight. And just had that mentality going in. And so I started off saying, okay, I'm going to fast for 30 days. It wasn't the first time I had fasted for a long time. And so I didn't just jump right into fasting. But I knew from those previous water fasts, though, that the water fasts are great for losing weight, but they don't do anything for keeping the weight off. And if you don't change your diet, you're just going to put all of that weight back on and more. You know, in my case, I put on a lot more weight after I water fasted previously because I wasn't eating right when I got done with the water fast. So I water fasted through November of 2020, total like 42 days of water fasting, and I lost 90 pounds. And that 90 pounds really probably would have come off just doing any diet. I was so overweight at 520 pounds that just changing my diet habits, removing all of the sugar and all of the processed foods, that alone was going to cause me to lose a great amount of weight. And so I accelerated that weight loss by water fasting. One of the things that I did while I was water fasting, though, was I did research. I tried to educate myself on proper ways to refeed after fasting. At the time, I was looking into more of what kind of options for fasting or what I could do with fasting. And that's when I came across the True North Clinic and the book, The Pleasure Trap, written by the doctors that run the clinic there. And I read that book and really kind of liked a lot of what they talk about in that book. It's not just about diet, it's about society, it's about just our mental kind of approach to food and life. And there's so much in that book that I really enjoyed. But you know, I read that book, and after reading that book, I decided to try the diet that they talk about. And really, the water fast, while it was difficult to complete, it was easy in comparison to changing my diet and to overhauling my diet completely. After you get done with the water fast, that's where the real work begins, is learning how to eat and what to eat. And for me at the time, there was a lot that I was changing very quickly. You know, I went from somebody who was eating just an awful standard American diet, but I would eat anything, just about anything. And a lot of that included animal products, meat and dairy and eggs. And making the decision to leave the animal products behind was a big decision for me. It was something I'd never considered before, eating a whole food plant exclusive diet and not eating any chicken or beef or pork or any of those things. But for me at the time, my mindset was kind of like, why not give it a try? I've tried so many other things. At the time, I was water fasting. I was eating nothing but, just consuming water. And so eating a diet free of animal products, it seems extreme, but it's not as extreme as what I was doing at the time. So I thought, why not try it? If I don't like it, it's not like animal products are going to disappear all of a sudden because I'm not eating them. And I was amazed, how quickly I felt better after the water fast. Within 10 days of the water fast being completed, I got on the scale again and I had lost another 10 pounds. So within 50 days of starting my diet, I was down 100 pounds. Again, I feel like I could have lost that weight doing any diet, just getting away from what I was doing previously. But the way I did it definitely accelerated the speed at which I lost that weight. So within 50 days, I lost 100 pounds. And then just really, I enjoyed the diet. Like I didn't enjoy the foods a ton at first, but over time I developed the taste for the foods. And really what I found is that, I gave up the animal products, but it was much harder to leave out the salt, oil, and sugar. And then the idea of having any animal products without having salt, oil, and sugar also seemed, it sounded awful. Like whenever I think of any meat, there's always salt added to it. Or really anything that's made from animal products has a ton of salt in it, sugar in it, oil in it. So the idea of having those items without salt, oil, and sugar didn't seem appealing. And so I think that's part of the reason why it was easy for me to keep out the animal products and to still keep out the animal products, is they just don't seem appealing anymore. And then I had to make the decision to eat plants and not just eat a few plants or eat plants like I was eating, but eating lots of plants, because prior to starting this diet, I hated vegetables. If I ate a vegetable, it was on accident. It was because a waiter forgot to remove it from the food when I ordered it or after I ordered it, or the cook didn't see that, hey, he doesn't want this vegetable on here. And so, I knew that my old way of eating was so wrong, and that I had to be open to eating a completely different way than I used to eat. And by changing the foods that I'm picking from, the foods that I have on my own personal buffet table, by removing the fast food and the processed foods and replacing it with, fresh produce and meals that we make ourselves, I changed everything, because at the end of the 50 days, I was 420 pounds. And throughout the remaining 1,000 days, essentially, I've slowly been chipping away at the weight. And it definitely came quicker at the beginning, and slowed up, but it's still continuing to go in the direction that I want it to go. And it hasn't been all sunshine and rainbows for the last 1,000 days. This changing this way of eat, changing the way you eat and how you approach food is not something that's easily fixed. And even 1,000 days in, I still struggle with the temptations of the processed foods and the convenience of the processed foods. But what I've been able to do is fight those cravings and fight those things with eating an abundance of food by focusing on volume eating and eating a large amount of the foods that are on my buffet. If it's something that I say it's okay to eat, then I'm okay with eating it at libitum, as much as I want. And if there's something on your buffet that you can't eat as much as you want, then, or else it causes you to gain weight, then maybe you need to look at whether or not it should be on the table. And maybe you can replace it with something different that allows you to eat a larger volume of it and not cause you to gain weight. But the first year, I would say, is the easiest. And maybe not even the first year. Let's say the first 9 to 10 months is the easiest, especially when you are so overweight like I was. Like, I was so motivated to get away from 520 pounds that I was willing to do anything and to really go at any length to keep it away. But after 9 or 10 months, you have to realize that life has to come back and you have to deal with life. And sometimes life doesn't let you ignore it anymore, because when you're focusing on diet, like I was, there was a lot of things that I was pushing away, and I was saying, you know what, I'm going to deal with that later because I'm focusing on my diet now. Just like in the past, I said, well, I'm going to deal with that now and I'll focus on my diet later. I flipped it, right? So after 9 or 10 months and losing 180 pounds at that point, almost 200 pounds at that point, and I was unable to avoid getting injured. I didn't know I was going to get injured. I didn't know life was going to happen, but it's happened to me in the past. It wasn't an injury, just all of the motivation that you had when you started, eventually you lose some of it. And especially if you're so far away from where I was. So, you know, on November 1st, 2020, I'm 520 pounds. I'm suffering from sleep apnea. I have a host of other undiagnosed medical conditions. I got swelling in my legs that have sores that are weeping. And I knew I needed to get away from that. I didn't want to be 520 pounds anymore. So I do all this work. You fast forward 10 months. Now I'm 340 pounds. I'm still overweight, but I'm not near, I'm not 1 foot in the grave like I was 10 months earlier. And so you start to let up off the gas, I feel like, or at least I did, and then I got injured, which also slowed down the weight loss. And then for me, I think I got curious about eating kind of vegan processed foods. I was under this mindset still after losing 200 pounds that the diet that I was eating to lose weight was going to be different than the diet that I was going to eat once I got to my goal weight. And you need to get that idea out of your head. The diet you're eating now, if you're overweight like I am, sucks. There's nothing about the diet that is worth going back to, and it got you to where you were. And so I knew I needed to, I guess I was worried. That second year, I just got it in my head, and I started trying some different processed foods. There's some places that sell vegan pizzas, or going to Chipotle and getting burritos, or trying some of the snacks or things that are still vegan, but they're not healthy. And I was trying those things out. I think there was a little bit of this mindset that what if I lose the weight and then I get to my goal weight and then I don't like any of the food that I'm eating when I'm that goal weight. And so I'm trying these vegan processed foods, and it took me a few months to realize that I can't ever eat these foods. Like, there's no place for these foods in my diet ever. And so, and when I get to my goal weight, I'm not going to be able to eat those processed foods and maintain that goal weight. And so I need to figure out how to eat like the healthy version of myself eats. And I need to eat those foods now and forever. It's not just, what am I going to eat to lose the weight, and then I get to go back to having all the crap I used to eat. And that's something that you have to get that out of your head. And it took a few months of waffling and really just not losing weight. I wasn't gaining weight over that period of time, but kind of throughout the second year, I didn't lose as much as I could have. I probably still lost 40 pounds, 50 pounds maybe in the second year. but it could have been better if my diet was better. And it really took a few months, and it was, I think, might even meant it was late last year that I kind of recommitted to the diet again, and uh, went back kind of full on whole food, plant-based, salt, oil, sugar. And throughout the second year, it was like I would have a day of bad eating in the middle of a week of good eating. So it wasn't like every single meal, it wasn't even every day. It was like once every 8 days or once every 10 days we would find an excuse to go have some sort of vegan out to eat meal. And once I recommitted, got rid of that from my diet, the weight started coming off again. And that's really where I lost this last 50 to 60 pounds, is been because I recommitted to the whole food, plant-based, salt, oil, sugar-free diet, and I stuck to it. And it's been awesome to lose that weight. And then here recently, I had traveled and some things at the end of July, which threw off my schedule. I really feel like I put myself in a position where I was under eating and undersleeping for a very long time, and then I rebounded very poorly from that experience. But by eating an abundance of whole food, plant-based, a whole food, plant-based diet, I'm able to get back into it. I'm not running around with an empty stomach, starving myself, saying, oh, I went over my calories for the day. I'm sitting here going, how do I make sure my calorie density for the day is really low? And how do I eat a bunch of food so that I don't have cravings? And so that's really what I found with this diet, is that it's much easier to get back into this diet than any other diet I've done in the past. Because so many times in the past, I was focusing a lot on calories, and you would have a cheat day or a cheat meal, and then it would blow out your calories for the day. And so then the rest of the day, you would have to say, no, I'm not going to eat anything, because I'm trying to make up for all the calories I ate earlier. And so then you run around starving, which just breeds more cravings until you eat. And if you had just made a poor food choice, it's hard to make a healthy food choice right after that. But with previous diets, you make that poor choice, you have to not eat the rest of the day, or you don't have points the rest of the week, or you're putting yourself into this starvation system because you overate calories. With this diet, in my opinion, if you eat an off meal item or have something that's not on plan for a meal, you need to get right back into it, and you need to stay on your routine of eating that large volume of food. Just make sure that you're eating the low calorie dense foods. If you go out to lunch and you eat something that's high in calories, don't skip dinner because of it. Eat dinner, but just try to make it a lower calorie dense dinner. Maybe have some more non-starchy vegetables in your dinner that day. But don't avoid eating, because that just gets you into this starvation thing where you're always playing catch up. And so that is a huge reason why I feel like I've succeeded on this diet, is because after I have a cheat, I'm not starving myself. I'm eating whatever we had made for dinner, or I'm having oatmeal and potatoes the next day, just as I normally would. And I'm not sitting there chasing an empty stomach, essentially, trying to get the calories off. And so the The second year was really a learning year for me, and it pushed me into this third year that I've seen great success over the past 10 months of this third year. Again, it's been the success only happens when I'm compliant with the diet. As long as I'm eating a whole food, plant-based, salt, oil, sugar-free diet, the scale goes in the direction that I want. And I've been able to look back over the past 1,000 days, and it's almost always the case that if I didn't lose weight, I wasn't compliant on my diet. Or sometimes I stayed the same, but if I gained weight, I can almost assure you that the weight gain happened because my compliance with the diet was off. And after doing this for 1,000 days, I know what I need to do to keep getting the rest of the weight off. And it's just a matter of doing it. Again, you do lose some of that motivation. You do lose some of that drive, you know, like at 250 pounds, I feel amazing. I've not been 250 pounds since I was in high school. And at that, I was like a freshman in high school the last time I weighed 250 pounds. So that is 25 years ago. That's unreal. Since I've been this light. So, but I'm excited knowing how good I feel now at 250. I'm very excited to getting down to 220, getting down to 200, and then maybe making those things that I was talking about earlier, like running a little bit easier. That would be nice. But yeah, I lost 270 pounds through diet. By continuing to educate myself, I think that that is another key to my weight loss, was that I didn't just read one book and stop. I read one book that led into another book that led into another book that really sparked the 2 years of education for me that I would not have done otherwise. And if you're interested in any of the books that I have read over the past 2 years, if you go down into the description of the video, I have a list of all of the books I've read. I enjoyed all of the books, and I feel like there's something that I've taken away from really everything that I've read over the past 2 years. I don't follow every diet plan or program or workout thing that isn't in all that's in all of those books, but I feel like I've learned a great amount from them. Jennifer checking in saying hi. Hi, Jennifer. Hope you're having a great day and that you had a great weekend. So yes, continuing to educate myself has been a huge part of my success. It's taught me a great deal of things that I never again would have learned had I not started this challenge. Yeah. So I'm trying to think of how else I lost 270 pounds. I mean, it was on the fork, and it wasn't me skipping meals. It wasn't me fasting my way to a healthy weight, which is what I thought was going to be the case. And in fact, I know many of you people that are watching know this, but I had no intentions of eating this way. I'm the last person that would be sitting in front of people telling them to eat a plant-based diet. I really am. I used to just devour just a ridiculous amount of processed foods that I had zero concern about the food I was eating. I didn't care that I was drinking, at minimum, I was drinking 6 20-ounce bottles of Diet Pepsi a day. And that was just what I was drinking in bottles. That's not what I would get from the fast food restaurants, just with no concern about all of the chemicals that were in it. You know, people would give me a hard time about drinking Diet Pepsi, and I would say, well, the number one ingredient is water. You know, like, that's not the problem. The number one ingredient's not the problem. It's the number 2 and 3 and 4 and 5 and 15 and 25. You know, like, it's when we're getting into these foods that are just not natural and completely engineered. And I didn't care about what I put in my body as long as it tasted good, as long as it gave me that dopamine spike that I was hoping for. That's all that mattered. And I realized that you are what you eat. That's all you are. All you are is what you eat. That's every cell in your body was created from the food that you put in your mouth. There's nothing else. There's no, it's what we're made of. You are what you eat. And if you're eating processed junk crap foods, you're gonna turn into a processed junk crap person. And that's what I did. Jennifer says that her husband says that too, that soda has water. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that was, yes, every time somebody gave me a hard time. Soda, the number one ingredient's water. You know, it's not the number one ingredient that you need to be worried about. It's all those other ones. And yeah, you are what you eat. Like that. It's absolutely, it couldn't be more true. And it's just something that I've said flippantly my whole life, you know, or it's a saying that you've heard probably your whole lives too, is you are what you eat, but you don't really think about how true that is on a cellular level. Like, all that, you know, the skin on my face, the everything that is part of you is only part of you because you ate it. And when I look back and see all of the things, or think of all the things that I was willing to eat, or that I just cringe. And I have to give myself a little bit, you have to give yourself grace and forgiveness, though, and understand that you didn't know what you didn't know. But now that I do know what I do know, I need to make the decisions with that knowledge. I can't allow myself to be ignorant of that fact anymore. And you can't allow yourself to be ignorant of that fact anymore now that you've heard me say it. So stop doing it. It's hard. It's hard. But I think that eating a plant-based diet makes it easy, because you get to continue to eat. You don't have to starve yourself. You're not starving yourself. So, let's see. Is it Barb? I'm going to say Barb here. Thanks for what you do. I'm 66 years old and just found you. I have 120 pounds to lose. Well, that's great. Thanks for checking out. If you have any questions or want any advice, please let me know. I'd love to try to help you out. Today is your third day on whole food plant-based. That's awesome to hear. Keep it up. I know it can be difficult. For me, I didn't eat any of these foods prior to this way of eating. I didn't eat, like, when I look back at my food, it amazes me all the time seeing the foods I eat. But just know that the foods are going to taste better and better the longer you eat them. So that's so awesome to hear. Um, and it's 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 consistency. I know it's tough, but it's chaining those days together. I read a book, Atomic Habits, where they talk about that, chaining those days together. Um, and it helps, when you can look back and say, I've done this for 3 days. I've done this for 6 days. I've done this for 20 days. I've done this for 30 days. It gets much easier, like to look back and be able to use those days of success too, to get you through, to propel you through the future ones. And the big things is going to be trying to eat outside of your house, or when you're in a position where you don't have control of your food. And it's, it's making it, I ask it at the beginning of all my videos, is what are you going to do that will make staying on your diet easier than the alternative? And that is in every decision, like it's having the food in your car when you first get started, so that when you're driving home and your mind starts thinking about going and getting fast food, you can say, I don't need to get fast food because I have food with me. It's getting rid of the junk food out of your pantry so that you don't have to have that argument with yourself not to eat the junk food. If it's just not there, or if the only choices you have are healthy choices, it's easier. Or for me, what we run into is we have kids in the house that have processed foods that we have in the pantry. We have a hanging basket that has fruit on it on our pantry door. So for me to go in and get into the pantry, I have to walk by apples, bananas, and oranges. And I have to make that decision to skip those to go into the pantry. And so it's easier for me to just grab a banana than it is to grab the food on the inside. So just do things that, set yourself up for success. But that's awesome. I'm so happy. And just let the weight come off as it does. It's gonna do crazy things. You might see a lot of weight loss at the beginning. You might not see a lot of weight loss in the beginning. You might be eating more food now than you were eating before, especially if you're jumping, or you're going from doing a previous diet into doing this. You don't skip meals, eat food, and just keep at it, and keep letting us know how you're doing. Accountability, that's been a huge part of this for me as well, has been accountability. And it's tell people around you that what you're doing, have them hold you accountable. Find diet buddies. I mean, it's something that at the end of the day, you're the one that's responsible, but the more people you tell, the more you get it out there, the tougher it is to make those bad choices. I know that from personal experience. Linda here says to Barb that they had started Whole Food Plant-Based SOS at 67. They're now 70. So 3 years later, they're down 81 pounds. They still have a lot to go, but it's been the easiest weight loss they've tried their whole life of dieting struggles. No strenuous exercise. That's awesome. That's a great testimonial, Linda. Thank you very much for sharing that. 3 years, 81 pounds down, and feeling amazing. Like that's for me. I'm still 30 pounds from my initial goal, probably 50 or 70 pounds from my final goal. And it's been amazing, this whole process. So that's great. Thank you so much for sharing, and thanks for joining the chat here, Barb. Yeah, I just kind of touched on it there. Accountability. I really feel like that's an overriding part of my success was creating this YouTube channel. There's other social media platforms, Instagram, Facebook, lots of different things you can do to get yourself out there, to just, like I started an Instagram. I don't use it much, but you could start an Instagram and just post food photos every day. And eventually, if you put the right hashtags, you'll start getting a few people following you. And then, then you'll get people asking you where your food photos are. And so, it helps keep you on track and keep you motivated going on. So, yes, Barb says, awesome. I feel the love from this group makes me believe that I can do this. Thank you. You can do it. Absolutely. It's the rest of your life, like I started this challenge. I said, I'm going to do it for 3 years. That's 1,095 days. And that was that mindset that I'm going to do one thing to lose weight and then I'll live the rest of my life happy and stupid. And I realize now that it's not 1,095 days. It's the next, I don't know, 20,000 days, next 40,000 days, next 50,000. The 1,095 days that I'm doing this is nothing compared to if I do it for 30 years, the 10,095 days that, or 950 days that I do. So, yeah, and it's just days and days of doing it right and just keep chaining them together. So, yes, that's awesome. Accountability, start your own something, start an Instagram, start a YouTube, just, or, go to a local something, tell your family member, tell your friend, it's something that it's hard to hold ourselves accountable. And so, having somebody else there to help you, it makes a difference. And it's the analogy I've used in the past, and I had used with a personal trainer friend of mine, was that if I told you to punch yourself in the leg, you're going to punch yourself, but you're only going to punch yourself so hard. If you have somebody else standing next to you and you say, hey, come over here and punch me in the leg, they're going to punch you much harder than you would ever punch yourself. Or they can. Sometimes people would just not, but you get what I'm saying, is that you're only going to do so much to yourself. But if you allow somebody else to kind of be part of it, they're going to help push you along. They're going to help hold you accountable. But you also have to realize that that loved one is only going to hold you accountable for so long. They're not going to want to be a nagging force in your life. For me and Carrie, we've both tried diets off and on for the years, and I would be on a diet, and then Carrie would notice that I would eat something off diet, and she might say something the first time. Oh, are you sure you're supposed to be eating that? And I'd give whatever excuse I gave. And so then the second time I was eating it, she'd be less apt to say something. And because, like I said, they don't want to, not their job to nag you about your diet, but they also want to support you as well. And they don't want you to start avoiding them because they ask you about your diet every time you see them. So, use others for accountability. Understand, though, that you are the one responsible at the end of the day to make the right decision. Karen here says the Barb, that they were almost 64 when they started 4 years ago. They're 90 pounds down from when they started. And 102 pounds because you lost 12 pounds right before you started. But most importantly, Karen got off her 3 diabetes medications after eating this way for 4 years. That's awesome. Let's see. Yes. And Linda says, we've all been there. We understand and are here to help, encourage, and inspire. Yes. And a lot of these people here too, if you haven't checked out Chef AJ, they mentioned Chef AJ in the comments here. She is a great source for lots of things, whole food, plant-based, salt, oil, sugar free. She has lots of wonderful guests on her shows. So that might be what you said. Rochelle here says that when you started, your coworker said you had willpower. There's no willpower. I eat more now. Yes, that is something that I did want to talk about. I get that comment. I got a comment the other day about it, and there's some misconceptions that people assume anytime somebody loses weight. And the first misconception that I ran across was exercise. I had somebody who noticed I had lost weight. They might even knew some of what I was doing with the diet, but they had made a comment about they wouldn't be able to work that hard. And I kind of was like, what do you mean work that hard? And they're like, well, I couldn't exercise that much to lose weight. And I had to correct them. I had to be like, well, I don't exercise. It's not part of my program to get out and do daily exercise or even weekly exercise. I'm more active because I've lost weight, but I don't have a regular exercise regimen to lose this weight. It's been with my diet. And so that's been one of the bigger misconceptions that I've had people have. And then I did have a comment the other day that I responded to, that they had asked me if I just do portion control or if I calorie count. And I kind of let them know I don't do either. I don't portion control and I don't calorie count. And like you said, a lot of people think you have to have this willpower to eat less food. And for my water fast, sure, you need willpower to get through a water fast. But to eat a whole food, plant-based diet, you don't need to exercise portion control. You don't need to count calories. It's by eating a large volume of low calorie dense foods, you don't have to worry about either of those, because the large volume is the portion control and the low calorie dense foods takes care of the calorie counting. If I'm eating foods that are 400 calories per pound, I can eat 5 pounds of that food and I've only had 2,000 calories. That is a huge difference versus the food I used to be eating that was 1,500 calories per pound. So when I ate 5 pounds, I was eating 7,500 calories a day. It's just by changing the density of the food, the calorie density of the food. I don't have to worry about portion control. I don't have to worry about calorie counting. And again, those are two things that were staples in every other diet I did. You had to eat less food, eat smaller portions. Don't eat as much of that food, eat anything you want, just eat less of it. It never worked for me. I could never eat just less of it. And so I had to change. I can't eat whatever I want anymore, but I get to eat however much of the foods that I choose to eat, or I get to eat as I want. So that is awesome. Yes, Karen says absolutely no willpower. I just eat all the foods I eat. Yeah, it's like we're at a buffet table. You have to look at what foods you're allowing on your buffet table, and you have to make the decision to get rid of the junk foods and the high calorie dense foods and fill that buffet table up with low calorie dense foods that you're willing to eat and that you'll eat a lot of. Linda here says, and I said it earlier, you can't out exercise a bad diet. That was a big focus when I got into this, is that I needed to make diet a priority and that I can't out exercise a bad diet. I tried it lots of times and I gave up years ago. And just giving up caused me to gain a bunch of weight, but just like, I just thought it was never gonna, it was never gonna be for me. I was never going to be able to reach a healthy weight. And now that's changed. Rochelle says, I love salads. Yes, I love salads now too. I used to hate salads. I would never eat a salad, but now I love it. And then Linda says, mastering calorie density is the key. It is. I've known for years that I eat a lot of food. I eat more than my peers. I eat more than my, really anybody in my family. And it's how I'm designed. I'm designed to eat a large volume of food. If I could change that, I would have. I guess without surgery, because that's where I was. That's the point I was at, was that I was so broken that I was eating this food. I'd gotten myself to the point where I was eating so much I had thrown up a few times. And I knew the reason why I threw up was because I had just eaten too much food. That last slice of pizza was just too much. And yeah, I really thought that to fix me, it was going to take surgery. And I realize now that it's not. It doesn't. It takes potatoes. That's what it takes. It takes eating a large volume of potatoes and eating a large volume of rice and eating a large volume of spinach and kale and oats and beans and just changing the foods that I was eating to being real foods that maybe our ancestors had a chance of obtaining in the wild. But yeah, so that's how I lost 270 pounds with diet alone. There's a ton of other information, and if you really want to know how I lost 270 pounds with diet alone, you should go back to my old live videos and go back and watch through my old videos. If you're not interested in water fasting, I would say you could probably skip the first 40 days of my live videos. But yeah, it's hard for me. I can look back and I can think about what life was like at that time. But the live videos, I actually tell you what's going on, how I'm doing. And, if you're looking for help, maybe there's something back in those videos that's worth checking out. Jennifer here says, eating rice cauliflower salad right now. Our food is so delicious and flavorful. Yes, it is. Oh, yeah. I mean, just there's so many misconceptions that I think of what my old self would have said to me now. First thing they would have said is, "Oh shit, you look skinny." But the second thing would have been, how do you eat that rabbit food? How do you enjoy any of that stuff? And I just laugh now. I just laugh at that idea. Because it's so much. I eat an incredible variety of food. If that's probably the most surprising thing for me, the most surprising thing is that it's working, because I would not have Um, suspected that, but that I eat way more food. I eat way more variety. Like if I were to write a list, 3 years ago, if you had me write down a list of all the different foods I ate over the course of a month, and then I wrote a list now of all the foods that I eat over the course of a month, my list would be double in length for the different things that I eat. It really, uh, it's incredible. Like just the change in what's on my buffet table. The spinach that's on there, the kale, the quinoa, the white beans, the fennel, the farro. Farro was the word I was thinking of. Barley, Japanese sweet potatoes, tomatoes, just celery, just simple things that most people eat that I wouldn't have eaten before. Red peppers, just an incredible variety of foods. So yes, it's amazing. But yeah, I'm gonna get out of here for today. Again, I hope you guys had a great weekend. I hope you have a fun week, hope you have a great week here this week. It is going to be hot here, so try to avoid the heat if you're somewhere where it's going to be hot. And I should be live most days this week. I do have a lot going on with work that I keep kind of kicking down the road that I need to get done. So that's going to get in the way here eventually. But again, thanks everybody for all of the support. I am excited for these next couple months, and really, I set a 3-year thing when I started this, but this is the way I'm eating the rest of my life. So anyways, thanks for the support. If you haven't subscribed to the channel, get subscribed to the channel. Click on that bell icon so you get alerted when I go live or post new videos. Hit that thumbs up, share this, get this out there into that YouTube algorithm. Let people know it's a video worth checking out. Jennifer says, thank you, Jonathan. You're such an inspiration. Thank you so much, Jennifer. Thanks, Rebecca, everybody for checking out the live stream. Barb, I hope everything is going wonderful with your transition to this diet. And if you haven't started your diet yet, get started right now. There's nothing coming up that's more important than your health and your overall well-being. There's nobody that reaches their goals, looks back, and wishes they would have waited. So get started right now, guys. I will talk to you tomorrow.